We're facing new grim milestones in the COVID-19 pandemic. In the U.S., there have been 6.8 million cases, and we are about to reach 200,000 deaths.
We are going into a global recession.
100 days of protests and counting. Rallies against police brutality and racism in the U.S. show little sign of ending.
Sally made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane, leaving behind extensive damage. Winds clocking over 105 miles per hour, sweeping across the Gulf Coast.
People across the state of Oregon forced to flee as fire moves in. The high winds and heat making for a dangerous combination.
It's not news. The world can be dark. But this is our moment to respond.
We served over 46,000 meals. There is a shelter for women and children.
We at IVC get up each day and put our skills, our life experiences, and our hearts into building something good, something healing, something holy. We are witness to the men and women of the Corps as they light up the lives of others. And our hope is catching. Last year, we grew to more than 600 Service Corps members across 24 cities. We launched new regional offices in Albany, New Orleans, and Portland, Maine. And even more cities are actively seeking to develop an IVC Service Corps in their region. Our Jesuit university and college partnerships now include the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, Lemoyne College in Syracuse, Loyola University, Maryland in Baltimore, Marquette University in Milwaukee, the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania, Loyola University, Chicago, and Georgetown University. At least a half dozen other schools are inquiring how their alumni can join the IVC movement. Our supporters don't just join the ranks of the Service Corps and partner agencies, they sustain us with their generosity. This is our response to the darkness.
I'm Nancy Woodley. I work with United Community as a basic needs counselor, offering help with food assistance, housing, and shelter referrals. The needs of so many of our clients has never been greater. IVC supports me and encourages me to deepen my faith into action. When the capital campaign began, it was an ideal time for my husband Tom and I to give back to IVC. We saw an opportunity to financially commit to help IVC grow and be benefactors as missioners. We are grateful to be part of the continued growth of IVC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eleanor Vincent, Chief Operating Officer at Pathway Homes. Thank you so much, IVC, for partnering with us and bringing volunteers to us that make a big difference in the work that we do every day. 10 years ago, Marianne Cummings walked through our doors and changed our lives forever for the better. Since then, 5 other awesome folks have joined, and we're so grateful. They're talented, they're caring, they're exactly the people that we want to be part of the Pathways family, and it would not have been possible without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
At Friendship Place, we've been reaching out to our participants over the phone, helping to develop resumes, provide job leads, and helping to apply for jobs. But most importantly, we are contacting them regularly to let them know that while our offices remain closed, we are still there for them to help them on their journey.
Without the Service Corps members, without all the placements and partnerships that IVC has been able to gather, and where would the country be? The food banks that have grown so much and the need so great. We're not the first responders, but social agencies might be the second or third, and it is a call to faith in action.
At IVC, we experience hope in the flesh. We touch incarnation. And it's not lofty theology to us. God's love is a living, breathing reality.
You bring your skills, your talents, and join together in this service corps. It is a gift of a lifetime. You will get as good as you receive.
Dear friends, welcome to the 13th evening of gratitude for the Ignatian Volunteer Corps. Tonight, whether this is your 13th or your first evening of gratitude, I want to welcome you and thank you for your continued support, not only tonight, but throughout the year. I'm Father Ray East, and I'm pastor here at St. Teresa of Avila Parish in historic Anacostia. The mural that you see in our church above me is a very special one, painted by the Jesuit muralist, Father Fernando Aristi. He came from Mexico and painted this mural and many murals like it all over the United States in African American and in Latino parishes. We're honored to have this Jesuit reminder of here. This is the parish where I first encountered our Ignatian volunteers. There's a program called Living Wages, a faith-sponsored organization that gives adults their first opportunity to earn and complete their high school diploma. For 13 years, I've seen hundreds of Southeast neighbors graduate because of the dedicated service of their IVC mentors. Jim Kelly got me into this, and I've been connected with IVC ever since. Over the years, I've been blessed to participate in retreats, days of recollection, and an amazing formation day earlier this year on becoming anti-racist. Through the spiritual reflection program, rooted in Ignatian spirituality and the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola, our DMV volunteers have formed what Dr. King called the beloved community. This is IVC's 26th year, and by the time we end our evening of gratitude, the Yom Kippur fast begins. What an excellent time to recognize our Madonna Della Strada honorees, my inspiration and wisdom guide, Marie Dennis, my former boss at the Archdiocese of Washington Office of Social Concerns, Chuck Short, and Father Pat Conroy, the Jesuit with probably the most challenging job in the nation's capital. He's the chaplain for the United States House of Representatives. Father Pat tonight is the first recipient of the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality in Mission Award. St. Ignatius told his early volunteers, his early Jesuits, to step into the future, to lean back and step into a future of challenges. He also said to lean forward into the future, unafraid because Jesus was with them. Tonight, let's lean forward and step into a new future for IVC with St. Ignatius and with our honorees and their family and friends. As tonight, we face the future amid the pandemic of COVID, amid the pandemics of racism and poverty, and as we do so with hope in Jesus and with an evening attitude of gratitude. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Holy Trinity Church in the historic Georgetown section of Washington, D.C., please welcome IVC President and CEO Mary McGinnity.
Thank you. Thank you all. And on behalf of Mike Ogden and Mike Modis, Joe Rea and Ann Murphy, and all of the people here this evening, I welcome you. Thank you for coming. This is a wonderful evening that we come together to celebrate and to express the gratitude and the joy of the men and women of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps. It's not only the men and women of the Corps in their direct service, but it's the men and women that form the regional councils, the men and women who offer spiritual support to the volunteers, and also to the benefactors who make all this possible. Together, IVC is a core community that brings the infusion of spirituality and service as a healing force in this world. Father Reyes mentioned the pandemics, and there are many of them going on. And I think, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but there are days I just grapple on what can I feel hope about, what can I feel positive about, what can I feel gratitude for. And I am so blessed because I see the men and the women of IVC go out every single day in working in these organizations. Nancy said in there, the next front line is the social service entity. Across the country, we are in partnership with over 450 social service nonprofits that are out there in the community. Some of them big, some of them very small, but they're out there where people with needs get their needs met with love and hope. But in our world today, that sector is chronically under-resourced. And it's the men and women of the Corps that will step up, give of their gifts and talents, give of their talents, give of their skills that they honed in a lifetime of their own professional careers. And here in the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia region, there are about 40 agencies where these men and women go in and they make a huge difference to those agencies and to the men and women who need them. And that need is only going to increase. So you say, well, what's going to happen here? Let me tell you, I witnessed a miracle in IVC this spring. Yeah, in our faith world, I like to talk about miracles, but I really did. As soon as everything was shutting down in March, and everything was like, oh, if you're over 60, stay home, go in your basement, climb down. And somebody turned to me and they said, well, that's going to kill IVC. That's it, we're done. We're done. I was afraid. I really was. I thought, yeah, how's this going to work? We don't know. We don't know. Social service agencies were shutting down. It was very, very, very frightening. Well, I got to tell you, the men and the women of the Corps, the directors of all of our regions, the people in the spirituality component, they got creative, they got innovative, they found new ways, adapted, got on Zoom. By April, close to 60 to 70% of the Service Corps were doing service remotely. It was incredible. It was beautiful. And more people started joining the Corps too. It was really interesting. And then we started getting new partnerships with organizations that needed virtual help. So now with the advances of Zoom, people are jumping on it. We have a way to provide service even if it's somebody not right in my community. And you're going to hear a little bit about that later today. It was a blossoming that was unbelievable. There's hope in that. Why? Because it's the hope of the charitable, giving, spiritually driven heart that cares with compassion. It rose up, and we are rising up beautifully. So tonight, we're going to celebrate 3 individuals who have lived a life of service, a life dedicated to care, a life dedicated to finding new ways to push forward for social justice, for peace, for goodness in this world. That's the beautiful thing in our world. Those things don't make headlines, but they're there, and they're palpable, and they're real. And IVC tonight celebrates that with gratitude. Thank you, Marie and Chuck and Father Pat, for allowing us to honor you. I know you all said to me separately, you don't have to, humble, you are humble. No, you allow us to raise up the gift of service in this world because that is our faith. To be of service to one another, that's Ignatian service, Ignatian spirituality and service to one another. And through this, we can be forces to heal the world. So, as we start tonight with a sense of joy, with open and grateful hearts, I'm going to turn over now, and we're going to invite a good friend, new friend to IVC, a celebrity chef here, in the DC area, Chef Geoff, who's going to raise a toast for us.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Is everybody enjoying the evening of gratitude? I've got a little sparkling wine here for you. Hope you're having a great time tonight, enjoying yourselves. So congratulations to everybody. I want to congratulate Marie Dennis, Charles Short, and Father Pat Conroy. Father Pat Conroy, I know very, very well. He spent a lot of time here. Let him tell you the story about Andrea Mitchell. In any case, have an awesome evening tonight. Enjoy yourself. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's just terrific. Thank you, Chef Geoff. And you'll see here we have lots of friends around the area that are peeking in, joining us through this miracle of technology. Some of our friends that are witnessing. Yes, look at them dialing in. Look at this. Is Ginny Novak over there? I see you. Hey, there you go. The Albrochs. Who else is over there? Oh, Belle. Oh my goodness, so many friends. Thank you for coming in tonight. It's so cool, and also too, around the country, we have people dialing from other IVC regions. So we get to celebrate our community together, and I hope that you all have a good evening. So let's begin with our presentations.
Hi, I'm Sister Simone Campbell, the Executive Director of Network, a lobby for Catholic social justice and leader of Nuns on the Bus. Over the last few years, I've had the honor of participating with the Ignatian Volunteer Corps in a variety of ways. We've had a couple of volunteers work at our office a few years ago, and then I had the honor of being with you on your retreat just a year ago. It was a treasure to be connected and to learn of all the amazing work that you all are doing in creating a better community, in creating justice. In my religious community, we've learned from our foundress that there are various levels of this commitment to justice. Some is direct service, some is working in group work, some is movement work, and some is working in legislation. And what our foundress, Margaret Schlachta, always said was, each level needs to be connected to all the other three to really move our society forward. And isn't that what the Ignatian Volunteer Corps does? So let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the amazing work that your community does in moving towards justice. Lord knows we need it. But let's also acknowledge the fact that each of you benefits in such a great way from the service that you give. Doesn't it give meaning and energy to your life? So let's celebrate IVC in gratitude, knowing that we're rooted in faith, committed to justice, acting together to make our nation better. Thank you. Thank you for that service, and thank you for making a difference in your community. It makes all the difference.
Except perhaps for the Jesuits themselves, it's hard to think of an organization truer to the words and the thoughts of St. Ignatius of Loyola than the Ignatian Volunteer Corps. Love is shown more in deeds than words, St. Ignatius taught. Go forth and set the world on fire, he said. Ignatian volunteers show their love for the world and for others, and they set the world on fire. They understand that God is found in others, that God is found in service, and they understand that it is our task, all of us, to bring whatever gifts we have to the service of others, especially to the least among us. The Ignatian Volunteer Corps also knows something else, that there are many, many ways to serve, many venues in which people can serve, and that too is true to the words of St. Ignatius. It is dangerous, he said, to make everybody go forward by the same road. The Ignatian Volunteer Corps allows people to go forward by many roads. They all lead to love, they all lead to service, they all lead to concern for others. I am so honored to be able to honor in a very small way the work of all of the people of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps.
Greetings from Lemoyne College in Syracuse, New York. The establishment of the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Service Award, first presented tonight, is a fitting tribute to Kathleen's work over the past 25 years in helping to make Ignatian Volunteer Corps what it is today. As a founding IVC member, your vision and dedication are inspirational. And Mike, your ongoing support of Kathleen and the role as the first IVC board chair epitomizes the service to others tenet that was nurtured during your time at Lemoyne. Lemoyne is a proud and enthusiastic supporter of the IVC and its mission. In 2018, the college entered into a formal partnership with IVC's Syracuse chapter. Under the leadership of Linda Zimmerman, this partnership offers our alumni, faculty, and staff the opportunity to serve those in need through a structured and rich program based on Ignatian spirituality. Kathleen, congratulations again, and congratulations to the IVC for hitting the quarter-century mark.
Welcome back to Trinity Hall. Please welcome to the podium IVC's first lay spiritual reflector, Kathleen Curtin.
Thank you, and thank you, Linda and Mike and Mary, and thank IVC. My heart is full of gratitude for attaching my name to the new Spirituality and Mission Award. My privilege tonight is to highlight the role growing in faith, that personal relationship with God through prayer and reflection based on the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola, plays in the role of the life of IVC and its members. Growth in faith by praying and reflecting in the Ignatian tradition and the opportunity to serve those most in need in our communities are the two rich gifts the IVC offers its members. Spirituality and service are the two pillars on which IVC was established and on which it stands strong in fulfilling its mission. The important relationship between spirituality and mission to serve is not new. 500 years ago, Ignatius shared with his companions the story of his growth in faith. He told them how he had used his imagination when he entered into the stories of Jesus' life. By doing this, he came to know and love Jesus as the one he wanted to follow and serve. Ignatius recounted how his faith was also strengthened as he became more aware of how God was at work in every aspect of his life. All of his experience has been passed down through the centuries in the spiritual exercises that guide others in praying, reflecting, and growing as he did. 25 years ago, the two Jesuit founders of IVC built Ignatius' experience into the life of IVC in 3 ways. Each volunteer would meet individually every month with a spiritual reflector to prayerfully unpack the service experience and uncover its deepest meaning. All Corps members would also gather for prayer, reflection, sharing, and support in monthly city group meetings, and broaden that experience with regional and multi-regional retreats and days of prayer throughout the year. By entering wholeheartedly into all these opportunities, IVC members come to a deeper, a spiritual understanding of how intimately God is involved in their lives, especially in the service they so generously perform. They are drawn into a personal relationship with Jesus that inspires them to become his companions, the ones who desire to help Jesus make the kingdom of God real, right where they serve. When they see themselves at their service sites, laboring as Jesus' companions, they know they are not working alone. It is not just about them. Volunteers who come to this belief do not burn out. The spirituality that they have internalized illuminates, inspires, supports, and in many cases, adds years to their dedicated service. I do not exaggerate when I say that IVC members whose service flows from their deepened spirituality relate in a very personal way to the accounts of Jesus commissioning the early disciples in chapters 9 and 10 of Luke's Gospel. They can enter that story and see themselves as Jesus' disciples who are sent out to drive out the demons and ills that afflict our world today. And because they, like the first disciples, do all they do in Jesus' name, with Jesus' help, they too can return rejoicing to their one-on-one reflection, to their city groups, their days of prayer, and to their lives. IVC volunteers rejoice because they have helped bring the good news of God's great love to those most in need of knowing that God cares deeply for them. When this happens, we are witnessing spirituality in mission.
Hi, my name is Sarah Henley, and I am a national board member for Ignatian Volunteer Corps, as well as serving as the Director of Federal Grants and Special Projects at Catholic Charities USA. Over the last 6 months, there has been an unprecedented increase in demand for social services due to COVID-19. Its economic impact on families is clear, and we see more and more families seeking services at Catholic Charities to meet their most basic needs, including food and housing assistance. Despite pandemic realities, IVC continues to answer the call to serve, with Service Corps members helping to seamlessly transition traditional in-person services online and find new ways to support and connect with those most at risk to COVID-19. Service Corps members' high level of skill, dedication of time, and spirit through Hearts Aflame and Faith and Love inspires me daily. The men and women who serve with IVC are critical to current response, but will be even more vital in the months and years to come as we as a country grapple with the realities that COVID-19 will leave in its wake. As someone who works for Catholic Charities USA and as a national board member for IVC, every day I see the value and the centrality of our work as faith-based social service providers, especially in these most challenging of times. Faith and spirituality fuel and feed the generous heart, and it's the generosity of the men and women of IVC that makes a difference, lifting people through hope and enabling us to get up and get out of this dark time. Thank you for being here.
Welcome back, Mary McGinnity.
Thank you. And thank you, Sarah. Sarah Henley is one of our newest board members, and she's just really done a lot to help us to build new relationships with Catholic Charities across the country. It's been really wonderful. Father Ray East mentioned that tonight begins for our Jewish sisters and brothers, the sacred time of Yom Kippur. It's also we're in the cusp of another Catholic feast day that's very important, the Feast of St. Vincent de Paul. And it struck me when I was looking at both of those sacred celebrations, if you will. Yom Kippur is the time when the Jewish people go and look inside themselves, they reflect on sin, they look at atonement, or some people like to look at that idea of at-one-ment. How can we reconcile? How does that move us together? And St. Vincent de Paul, that devoted saint of working with the poor, talked about how we would reconcile with the poor, how the poor, as he said, was the way to find God. He also said charity is an act of courage. And I thought about that a lot. I thought, what does that mean? Charity feels lovely, but no, it's an act of courage to look fearlessly inside of ourselves, to look at sin, and how do we build reconciliations or acts of courage? Well, St. Ignatius, in starting out the Society of Jesus, in his love for Jesus, the desire to follow, meant to be with the poor, to be with the marginalized, to be with people who were disproportionately outside the boundaries. That's where God would be found. The Madonna Della Strada Award is named after the chapel where St. Ignatius dispensed his brothers to go and be with the poor in that humility and that love and that sacredness. And so when we give this award, we are recognizing men and women, Chuck Short, Marie Dennis, who have done that in their very, very solid lives of service. So let us begin our award ceremony, and we will begin with Marie Dennis.
Marie is my model of authentic female leadership in the church.
Okay, Marie has been an ambassador for God's peace in our community and abroad, and I appreciate her.
Marie is the heartbeat of the CC community.
Marie, as one of the founders of the community, is always available to us if ever we have a question or seek guidance.
I love Marie.
She makes Assisi feel like home.
Marie is a rare and wonderful combination. She's my hero and also my good friend.
Gracias, Marie, por tu compromiso y tu lucha.
I am the Bishop Marc Stanger, co-president of Pax Christi International. With the co-president Sister Wamuyu Washira, I will pay homage to Marie Denis. Marie Denis gave and continued to give the best of herself, of her intellectual resources and her faith to build a world of peace and non-violent relationships between humans. She never stops to denounce in her actions and her writings what goes against a just peace. Just peace that is the only way to a true human growth. Committed to Pax Christi International since many years, she brings her expertise to it, to recognize the non-violence as a language of fraternity. We pay tribute to her for her tireless service of respecting the dignity of people.
I received this news with great joy and gratitude. There is no one more deserving of this award than Marie Denis. Marie is not only an epitome of peace, but above all, a model for both young and old of what it is to be nonviolent, just, and peaceful. We in Pax Christi International are proud of Marie and grateful to her for putting her life on line so that today's and future generations may inherit a more just, peaceful, equitable, caring, compassionate, and nonviolent world. Marie has taken seriously the gospel of nonviolence as a way of being and doing. Blessed indeed are the peacemakers. We rejoice with you, Marie, as you receive this great award. God bless you. Shalom.
Hi, I'm Chris Kahn, and I'm an Ignatian volunteer. Since I began my work with IVC 2.5 years ago, I have had the providential experience of working for Marie Denis at Pax Christi. I believe Providence led me to work with Marie. Pre-COVID, we shared office space, and although Marie traveled a great deal, we were together on average about once a week. I can testify that Marie is the best of office mates. I delighted in the days when we would be working side by side. Inevitably, during a day together, I would glean bits and pieces of what Marie was working on, her interests, what she was reading and thinking. I came away each day refreshed by the work I was doing, but most of all, refreshed to have had a day with Marie. In the time we've worked together, not only did I learn that Marie is the best of executives directors, but she is the best example of someone I know who lives her life fully integrated with her values. She has opened her eyes to the poor and the marginalized and lives in harmony within a community that is grounded in the values of St. Francis of Assisi. She has influenced my life, and I work daily to better integrate my values into the way I live, thanks to Marie. Congratulations, Marie, on today's honor, and thank you for all you continue to do to make the world a more peaceful place.
Introducing Marie Denis is Franciscan Friar Father Joe Nangle.
Good evening, thank you. Let me cite just a few lines from the decree on the apostolate of the laity from Second Vatican Council. So I quote, "The effort to infuse a Christian spirit into the mentality, the customs, laws, and structures of the community in which one lives is so much the duty and responsibility of the laity that it can never be performed properly by others. And again, from the same document, the layperson engages fully and actively in the reality of the temporal order and effectively assumes a role in conducting the affairs of the temporal order. And also, finally, as a living member and witness for the Church, the layperson makes the people of God present and active in the midst of temporal affairs. In the light of these statements, it is entirely fitting, I think, that the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, which enables Catholic lay participation in today's society, to award this honor to a widely acknowledged exemplar of these gospel ideals, Marie A. Dennis.
Marie, on behalf of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, and so many people, so many admirers of you and your work, deep gratitude for all of the work for peace, for justice that you have done for so many years. We're very, very deeply grateful for this. Marie never says no. She told me that just before, and I couldn't help but think about today's gospel, in which the sons talked about one said yes, one said no. Marie never says no. So thank you so much for all of your work and all of your efforts. Thank you. Very grateful.
Thank you so much. I am truly humbled by this award coming from the Ignatian Volunteer Corps. I have to begin by returning the compliment to Chris Kahn, who I have had the gift of working with Chris for the last 2.5 years, I guess, and she has literally saved my life many times. So it's been a wonderful partnership. I just wanted to say a few words, as others have tonight, about this moment in which we're living. It's a hard moment. It's a hard moment because we're separated from each other and we're wearing masks, so the pandemic is making it difficult. But the pandemic is also exposing, in many ways, the fault lines in our societies. We've seen that so clearly. We know that it is the poorest people in our world, refugees, people of color in our own society, who are suffering the most from the consequences of this pandemic. I've had the gift over the last 6 months of participating in the Vatican's COVID-19 Commission, where Pope Francis charged the Dicastery for Integral Human Development with preparing the future, as you know, not preparing for the future. It's so similar to what you've said already this evening, but I do believe that it is exactly in places like this, places all over the world where good people are giving their lives to create a different world. I have great hope that we will, at this time, choose the route of moving toward a more just and peaceful world rather than continuing down the destructive path that we've been on for too long. So thank you for this honor. I am touched by it, and I am grateful that the Ignatian Volunteer Corps give us the opportunity to see integrity and generosity present in our world, signs of hope that are desperately needed and yet in such short supply. At least it seems that way until you look around. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chuck, on receiving the Madonna Della Strada Award. I know that your dedicated work as former board member and board president of St. Anne Center is just one of the countless ways you have selflessly served the most vulnerable men, women, and children of the Washington metropolitan community. You're everywhere as servant, collaborator, advocate, networker, and bringing together people from all walks of life dedicated to creating a just society. Chuck, you're a modern-day saint working tirelessly and inspiring others to service. You've blessed us all. Thanks, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck, and fond greetings to all the members of the Short family. Congratulations, Chuck, on receiving the Madonna Della Strada Award, an award established to highlight the good works of individuals who have dedicated their lives to serving and to befriending the poor, the marginalized, the disenfranchised. And as those of us who know you, Chuck, realize that is what your entire life's work has been about, professionally and personally. Thank you for serving as a leader, a director, a boss, a coach, an advocate, and a friend to me and to so many others. It's been an honor to work with you for over 30 years in the Department of Health and Human Services, to collaborate with you when you assumed the role of Director of Social Concerns and Social Justice in the Archdiocese, and upon your return to Montgomery County as Special Advisor to the Honorable Ike Leggett County Executive. Rather than trying to enumerate all that you have accomplished, which of course we can't do, I'd like to just say a couple of words about how you've gone about accomplishing those things. So it's not what you've done, but it's how you've done it that strikes me so deeply. You've always done it by treating individuals with dignity and respect. You've taken the demand of disability advocates seriously when they say nothing about us. Without us, you bring people to the table from the very beginning to think about and plan and analyze problems and suggest solutions. You've taught us that the good we can accomplish is limitless as long as we don't care who gets the credit. And you've taught us that when one shines, we all shine. So thank you, Chuck, for improving the lives of so many residents of the county and the Archdiocese. And thank you for setting an example of how we should go about trying to perform the good works. Thanks, Chuck.
Paying tribute to Chuck Short, please welcome Mary McGinnity.
1999, I was just moved back down to Maryland, having spent 20 years in New Jersey working in a nonprofit. I started a counseling center and I was a therapist. So I knew the private sector of service. I needed a job. I applied for a job. I was called into an interview with the director of HHS in 1999. I was terrified because I had no idea what it was going to be like to work in the public sector. I remember taking the elevator to the 5th floor, elevator opens, reception desk there, and up on the wall were the words, "Together we can." And that has always been the hallmark of who Chuck Short is. That began for me 7 wonderful years, working 4 years with Chuck at HHS and then with him at the Archdiocese of Washington. And the thing that I grew to know about this man was that everything was about other people, especially people in need, for families, for people with disabilities, for people with economic disturbances. All were the first and foremost thing in his heart, but he always said, we can do better. We need to bring together organizations. We need to bring together people. Together, we can make a difference. And at HHS, when I walked in, he had already brought together so many departments of public health, mental health, aging and disability services, brought them together so that it would be a stronger organization for people. At the Archdiocese of Washington, came in, began to do the same thing. Brought together organizations, Anchor Mental Health, Catholic Charities, Spanish Catholic Center, brought them in together so that together they were stronger for people in need. Chuck has always been a collaborator, a genius around how we can create systems of care. He's strong, he's full of a passion for people in need, and I benefited. There is not hardly a month that goes by that I don't say, how would Chuck think about this? He has influenced so many of us, so many of us. And now I'd like to turn it over to two people that are dear friends of mine and dear friends of Chuck that I know that he has influenced greatly. Montgomery County Councilman Gabe Albornoz and his wife, Catherine.
Hello, friends. I'm Councilmember Gabe Albornoz, and I am absolutely thrilled and honored to have the opportunity to make the presentation of this award to none other than my close friend and mentor, Chuck Short. Chuck Short has had an absolutely extraordinary career in Montgomery County, having served for every county executive. His legacy of inclusion, of partnerships, of collaboration is all around us. And it has been the thrill of a lifetime to learn from him, to work with him, and to be able to implement programs and services that have truly made a meaningful impact in the lives of so many county residents. Chuck, you are the friend of all friends, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't have a moment when I think to myself, what would Chuck Short do? You are a credit to our community, and I could not be more honored and privileged to call you a friend.
I'm Catherine Albornoz, and I had the pleasure of getting to meet Chuck as a professor. He taught a program at the University of Maryland Policy School, and ever since then, he's really been a mentor to me. At that time, he was working for the Archdiocese of Washington, and I've been so inspired by his commitment to putting his faith into action every day. And he doesn't just do this in his professional life, he does it as a volunteer. He's always giving to others. He's interested in mentoring the next generation, and I feel like both of us have been so blessed to be part of that group. We just are so thrilled for Chuck to receive this award from the Ignatian Volunteer Corps tonight, an organization that's dear to our hearts and that's about people making a difference in the community, giving back based on faith. And we see so much of those values in Chuck and are so pleased to be included tonight in this celebration. Chuck, congratulations. We're so pleased and honored to have you as a friend.
Ignatian Volunteer Corps Regional Council Chairman Joe Rea and Regional Director of Washington, D.C., Metro Maryland, Mike Goggin, award Chuck Short.
Chuck, I am honored, I'm humbled, and I am so excited to represent the men and women of our region, of IVC's region here in D.C. and Metro Maryland, to offer you on behalf of all the Service Corps members, the spiritual reflectors, the partner agencies, and our regional council members, this honor, the Della Strada Award to Charles Short, September 27th, 2020, by the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, our highest honor, and I am honored to be able to bestow this upon you. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't know what to do with these things quite yet. I'm sort of speechless, so I'm glad that for a change I wrote some notes. Usually I don't, so I'm speechless that the remarks that Sister Mary and Jay Kenny and Mary McGinnity and Gabe and Catherine Albornoz, just I wasn't expecting that, and I'm as I said, speechless. Mike and Joe, thank you very much for your work, and I appreciate it a lot. Good evening, and to to our Jewish friends, a blessed Yom Kippur. Thank you to the many supporters of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps who are here this evening and those that have Zoomed in. It is a great honor for me to be recognized by the dedicated men and women who make up the Corps. The IVC's many volunteers make important and critically needed contributions to our nonprofit agencies and help us all in efforts to create just and compassionate communities. It is indeed an honor for me to be recognized with you. And I say with you, volunteers, because this evening of gratitude is most importantly about you, about what you do all the time. Thank you very much for that. I also want to thank the staff, Mary in her wonderful leadership role, and Dan and Mike and Joe and others for their ongoing support for this wonderfully effective and needed organization. You are the enablers of good work. Congratulations also to fellow awardees, Marie Dennis. I'm very humbled to be at this same podium, and to Father Pat Conroy, you too. Thank you and congratulations. This huge honor comes with one small perk, and I'm going to take it. I get to speak for 5 minutes about anything I wish. No worries, no sermon, no political rant, just a sincere psalm of gratitude. This award is named after the oldest Jesuit church in Rome. You heard from Mary, Santa Maria della Strada, Our Lady of the Wayside. Some of you may be wondering, so why name an award after an old church in Italy? The church serves as the worldwide spiritual home base for the Jesuit order. In the Catholic tradition, Our Lady of the Wayside is the patroness of those who serve the poor and the vulnerable. It is more than a coincidence in my mind that I received the Della Strada Award here in this Jesuit Catholic Church of Holy Trinity. This church is my life's home base. There is more here than coincidence. Let me explain, and this is fun. In this room, which until recently was an auditorium, my mother played the piano. She was a student in these hallways, a high school student in 1928, or later, I guess that's when she was born. She was a student here, and she was able to go to this school. She was the daughter of immigrants because of a piano scholarship, because people here valued immigrants. A half a block across the street, just across the street, I was born in the old Georgetown Hospital in 1947. One of the last babies to be born in that hospital before they opened the new one. And believe it or not, 50 years later than that, my daughter Mary Margaret lived in that same building, now a dormitory, as a student at Georgetown. She lived in that same building in which I was born, and across the street from where my mother went to high school. 18 years later, I went to college 1 block up the street. You could walk up there. It's here. Here, my passion for social justice and community service was ignited by some folks that I know Father Pat knows. Royden B. Davis, Dick McSorley, Father Dick McSorley, and others inspired me as a student at Georgetown to do what I could for those who had less. I began my professional career when I graduated from Georgetown just outside the hall there, right there. When the Sisters of St. Joseph took a risk and hired me as a middle school teacher at Holy Trinity Elementary School, where I first experienced inner city children and their parents struggling to get a good education. The DC school system was not very good then. I was inspired by the work of the sisters, their compassion for the mothers and fathers who were working minimum wage jobs to pay the tuition here at Holy Trinity. It was in this very building. This is really cool. It was in this very building, not this room, but right around the corner in this. I engaged in my first advocacy in my life on behalf of the church. I was a young member of the Holy Trinity Parish Council. I think I represented the faculty of the school when I led an effort to prevent author Peter Blatty and movie director William Friedkin from using the Holy Trinity Church altar to film some of the more gruesome desecration scenes of the movie, The Exorcist. Those scenes, in my judgment, were better filmed on a soundstage in Hollywood, not our own statue of Mary. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And it was here, with the guidance and support of a couple of other priests that Father Pat probably remembers, Hank Butler, who was the pastor here, and one of his associates, Frank Metzbauer, that my faith for Catholicism was reignited. I'd kind of fallen away. And they brought to my heart tangible meaning to what my faith means. And even more incredibly, in the other room again, 2 or 3 doors down, I met my dear wife, Maureen, while teaching together at Holy Trinity School. She was the pretty one in the 3rd grade. She has inspired me with joy and faith and love for more than 45 years. Together we have 3 wonderful, wonderful children, 6 grandchildren, all of whom I'm so very, very proud. So I think you would probably agree that there is something greater here than coincidence at Holy Trinity Church. It's not Della Strada, Father Pat, but for me, it's darn close. This church is at the source of my professional, personal, and spiritual life. It is the physical proof of a loving and very, very planful God. Being honored here tonight by people of great faith and action in the Jesuit tradition is more than I could have ever imagined when I first walked through these doors 50 years ago. I'm so deeply grateful to you all. There are just a couple of other non-coincidences I want to mention. My friend of more than 40 years, Austin Heyman, who's modeled a long life of service to others. Austin would be a great IVC volunteer. He is the founder of Interages in Montgomery County, continues even as he approaches 90 to bring older and younger people together in service to each other. And my friend Bruce Adams, who similarly for decades has championed community service activities just like the works of IVC, including the creation of Community Service Day in Montgomery County, resulting in tens of thousands of volunteer hours and changing the very nature of Montgomery County's people. We are a county of caring, much more because of Bruce's work. And finally, my dear friend, and as he likes to say, my brother of color, former county executive Ike Leggett. For 12 years, we worked together to bring justice, compassion, and opportunity to people in Montgomery County. It was the greatest honor of my professional life to work for him. He took politics and government very, very seriously. He disregarded petty political attacks while he took personally the plight of every individual who ever talked to him about something they needed. Wouldn't you agree that I have much to be grateful for? So thank you again for this moment of honor and gratitude, and thank you for bringing my life full circle at Holy Trinity Church. God bless you all, and stay well.
Good evening. It is a privilege to send warm greetings to the amazing men and women of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps for an evening of gratitude. Thank you, Mary Podesta and the entire IVC board for turning your faith into action to strengthen our communities and build a brighter future for all. As Speaker of the House, I'm honored to join you in paying tribute to our wonderful House Chaplain, Father Patrick Conroy. For decades, Father Conroy has been a distinguished and committed spiritual leader and teacher, serving faithfully in the spirit of St. Ignatius of Loyola for the greater glory of God and the salvation of humanity. Father Conroy's nearly decade-long service as House Chaplain has been a blessing, marked by his steady guidance, thoughtful insight, and compassionate ministry to members of all faiths on both sides of the aisle. His service honors the prayer of Pope Francis to, quote, enlighten those responsible for the common good so they might know how to care for those entrusted to their responsibility. For his lifetime of faithful leadership and service, Father Conroy is truly deserving of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps' first Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. On behalf of the United States Congress, congratulations, Father Conroy, on this well-deserved recognition. Thank you.
I'm proud to join the Ignatian Volunteer Corps in congratulating the honorees of the 13th Evening of Gratitude, Mr. Charles Short, Ms. Marie Dennis, and Father Pat Conroy. The IVC is in cities all across our country, and it's meeting the needs of those seeking to overcome poverty and marginalization. One of those chapters is in my hometown of Scranton, and we're proud to have the chapter in Scranton. I was one of those young people years ago who benefited and was blessed by the opportunity to be a Jesuit volunteer. And I learned in that year of service that it is in giving that we receive. And I understood better all of my blessings and all of the benefits that come to a person because of the service that he or she renders. No one knows this better than Father Pat Conroy. He has been serving our nation in so many different ways for many, many years now. Tonight he's the recipient of this year's Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. From his time as a lawyer and advocate for immigrants and refugees, and his work on Indian reservations, to his service as the 60th chaplain of the United States House of Representatives, Father Conroy has lived his faith to advance the cause of justice. And tonight we thank him for that, and we salute him. So thank you, Father Pat, and congratulations. And thank you to the Ignatian Volunteer Corps for the continuing work you do. God bless your work. Thank you.
Let me say thanks to the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, the IVC, for the opportunity to be part of this ceremony this evening as you honor my friend, Father Patrick Conroy. As you know, the IVC is a nationally lay-run ministry established by the Jesuits to provide meaningful service opportunities for retired men and women after successful professional careers. I probably should have looked into the IVC after I retired from Congress. I guess there's still time. I'm a product of a Jesuit education, a proud graduate of Xavier University in Cincinnati. And when I served as Speaker of the House, I often said I was just a regular guy with a very big job. I never wanted it to be about me. I just wanted to serve our country. And I was raised to believe that if you do the right things for the right reasons, good things will happen. I also learned a thing or two about humility, especially growing up. Obviously, that happened before I attended a Jesuit education. In all seriousness, though, the lessons I learned at Xavier were lessons that shaped me for life. Early in my speakership in 2011, just months after taking the gavel, I had the opportunity to appoint the next chaplain of the U.S. House of Representatives. We initiated a search process, and before long, I knew we had the right person for the job in a Jesuit priest from out west, who also had ties to Georgetown University, Father Patrick Conroy. In consultation with Nancy Pelosi, who was the minority leader at the time, I chose Father Conroy because of his dedication to God's work, his commitment to serving others, and his experience working with people of faith from all traditions. And as I came to learn during the interview process, Father Conroy was also a lawyer. In the great tradition of our Catholic faith, I chose to forgive him for that and appoint him anyway. What happened in the years after that were like a whirlwind to me. We struggle as a nation with the debt limit, immigration, healthcare, many other issues that tested our ability to come together and find common ground. Members of both parties needed a person of faith to be our rock. And we found one in our chaplain. Father Conroy served our institution with grace and strength for the rest of my speakership, and we went through an awful lot together. I appreciate Father Conroy's service to our country and to the people's house. And on a personal level, I appreciate his friendship and his commitment to our faith. So just let me say, Father, on behalf of myself, my former staff, our former colleagues, and everyone whose life you touched and inspired, thank you. We appreciate you, and we're happy to see your service recognized here tonight. Congratulations. God bless.
I'm Don Pazicki. I've been a member of IVC for 8 years, and I serve at the Father McKenna Center. I want to add my congratulations to Father Pat for being the first recipient of the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. Father Pat has been my spiritual reflector for 4 years. A spiritual reflector is someone that an IVC member meets with once a month and reflects on whatever that member wants to talk about. I am fortunate to be able to draw upon Father Pat's rich experience as a scholar, teacher, pastor to Native Americans, and chaplain in Congress. Our conversations vary widely, covering such things as current events, issues in the church, reflections on scripture, and my experiences at the Father McKenna Center. But they all combine to help make me a better contemplative in actions. Our conversations help me in discernment of everyday issues and strengthen me to help those on the margins of society. I'm very appreciative that Father Pat is my spiritual reflector. This Jesuit, who advises the powerful in Congress, reaches down to advise me as I work with the powerless of Washington. Congratulations again, Father Pat.
Hello, my name is Dennis Lucy, and I have the great pleasure of introducing you to Father Pat Conroy of the Society of Jesus, the first recipient of the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. Father Conroy is the chaplain of the United States House of Representatives. He is the first Jesuit and second Catholic to hold that position. He is a graduate of Claremont College in Claremont, California. He also received a master's degree in philosophy from Gonzaga University in Spokane, a law degree from St. Louis University, and a master's degree in divinity from the Jesuit School of Theology in Berkeley, and also a master's degree in sacred theology from the University of Toronto. Wow. Ordained in 1983, Father Conroy's past work includes service as a parish priest in the state of Washington, where his parishioners included the people of the Spokane Indian Reservation. In the 90s, he was chaplain both at Georgetown University as well as Seattle University. Prior to his selection as the house chaplain, he taught at Jesuit High in Portland, Oregon. On the occasion of his 25th anniversary of his ordination, the Society of Jesus used these words to describe him. Pat's talent for connecting with people is legendary. He remembers names, faces, and notable facts of all he meets. He cares for people, and they remember him as a true friend, a true equal, and a priest they can trust and in whom they can confide. I would add, Father Pat has a wonderful sense of humor. Sometimes that serves him well as chaplain of the house. IVC is blessed to have Father Pat as a spiritual reflector for the Ignatian Volunteer Corps volunteers from his home at Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. Congratulations, Father Pat. Your honor is well deserved.
Presenting the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award is Dan Kearns, Director of Service Engagement for D.C. Metro Maryland.
While it's always hard to follow my friend Dennis Lucy, the shy and taciturn one, it is indeed a special pleasure tonight for me to give this award, not just because of the good works of Father Pat, but because of the contributions the award's namesake, Kathleen Curtin, has made to the IVC since its inception. As you've heard, tonight is the first awarding of the Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. It's given to Father Pat Conroy, S.J., Chaplain of the United States House of Representatives. Father, we are all grateful for your inspired service to the Church, our nation, the Society of Jesus, and your commitment to the high ideals of the Ignatian Volunteer Corps.
So I want to begin, having watched the proceedings, by apologizing to everyone out there who's blinded by the lighting coming off of my forehead. I am very grateful to be here this evening. Many of you may not know that this very day in 1540, Pope Paul III issued a papal bull recognizing the establishment of the Society of Jesus. So 480 years ago today was the beginning of the Society of Jesus. I would like to say a prayer and a statement of gratitude for God's having inspired Ignatius and his initial founders, companions, because I am so aware in my life that I do not have a vocation to be a Dominican or a Benedictine or, please God, Franciscan or a diocesan priest. My vocation has been in the Society of Jesus. I've learned who I am and who I have been called to be because of the spirituality that was given to our church through Ignatius and his earliest companions and through the Jesuits throughout these 480 years. And so I am the recipient of this award, but I actually feel that the credit is due to the Society of Jesus, who has trained me and formed me and missioned me throughout my life, has missioned me to this point, to be of service in the House of Representatives. So I want to thank Mike for having offered this award to me. I knew Mike when he was an undergrad at Georgetown, and want to thank Kathleen for her life's work and for her inspiration in this award, and how fortunate that it'll be so easy to find a worthier recipient in years to come. We live in extraordinary times. I am chaplain to the House of Representatives in extraordinary times, and a lot of people say, boy, your life must be a piece of work right now. We are clearly in a time in the history of our own lives, the history of our communities, our families, our professions, our nation, and our world, when everything seems to be in turmoil. The creation itself groans in chaos. We have drought and fires out west. We have hurricanes with floods in our south and our southeast. There are rumors of earthquakes even, and the whole world is besieged by plague. Something is up. And in our own society, we know how contentious these times are. Is this a time of peace? Or is this a time of dread? Is this a time of joy or anxiety? Is it a time of hope or despair? And we all know our own answers to that. And yet, that being the case, the Ignatian Volunteer Corps is an institution, an organization that has been formed and trained in Ignatian spirituality towards service, to understand that everything that we engage in should be to the greater glory of God. To the greater glory of God. And when in everything or anything we do, if it is going to be for the greater glory of God, is it going to benefit the strong or the vulnerable? Is it going to benefit the poorest among us or the rich? Is it going to benefit the marginalized or enhance the powerful? In Ignatian spirituality, we understand that the greater glory of God takes sides, has preferences. We've also learned that in Ignatian discernment, it is always a bad idea to make a very important decision, a life-changing decision in times of turmoil. And yet, in our nation, we know very important decisions about the future of the Supreme Court, about the future of health care in this country, and all these things are not being looked at through the lens of we need to be careful here, but with great impatience. We need to address these things now. We need to take care of these things now. And so to those who have learned that we need to be careful in such important times, we need to be patient, we need to be calm, we need to be at peace, we realize that that is not what prevails. And it can be very, very discouraging. It can be frightening, it can cause anxiety, and can cause despair, and these are not spirits that come from God. These are not spiritual movements of the Holy Spirit. So what then are we to do? What can we do? What can each of us do in such fraught times of chaos in our world? It can be despairing. It can be discouraging. It can be depressing even. But God has not abandoned us. God will not abandon us. This can be a time, it needs to be a time, because there's so little of it around us, to go inward and to go deeper with the presence of God's Holy Spirit in our lives, in each of our lives, in each of our families, in each of our communities, in our nation, in our world. We all can do this. How big a difference will that make? If we are the only ones in any of those environments who are at peace because of our closeness to the Holy Spirit, it makes a big difference. The serenity prayer of Alcoholics Anonymous, I think, is key. Lord, give me serenity in a time of chaos. The serenity to accept what I can't change, which is almost everything. But give me courage to address what I can. And most immediately, that is right here. We can change right here. Don't enter into the fear, the argument, the anxiety, the chaos. Bring peace and healing. And then the wisdom to know that difference, so that our gift, our service to the world in these fraught and chaotic times is the presence of God's healing, God's forgiveness, God's peace. So thank you again to the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, to all the volunteers, and to all here this evening and those online. Let's be people of peace and hope and healing in our world that is in such great, desperate need of it today. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, Mary McGinnity.
Thank you. Wow. Father Pat, thank you. I think I speak for all of us. That was powerful and moving, and I think words many of us needed to hear. So thank you very much for those remarks. Thank all of our honorees tonight. Before we wind down, I want to do a little call and play off of what Father Pat just said. This is a time of service. This is a time of healing. It's a time our world needs what IVC can bring. Men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, might even say 90s, make up IVC's core. This is the boomer generation. The boomer generation, by the way, always has a lot of disparaging things about it, but I don't see it that way. I call the boomer generation the service generation. These are men and women who started the Peace Corps, started VISTA, started service learning. It's a generation that created opportunities for service. They were the young people out there, and they're still out there. Let's bring all of those gifts along with the education, the professionalism, the skills back into the communities. Fareed Zakaria, who is an NPR journalist, wrote a column a couple years ago, it's very relevant today, talking about the fact that we are such a divided country. And his statement was, the divisions that we are experiencing cannot be healed just through policies and politics, but they will be healed through people serving one another in local communities. So let's answer that call to service. Many of those service organizations that I talked about before, Peace Corps, VISTA, all of those, were started by Sergeant Shriver. We've been blessed to have as friends to IVC two of Sergeant's children, Tim Shriver and Mark Shriver. IVC is looking to integrate new partnerships with partner organizations, and I'd like to turn over now to Tim and Mark. Tim will announce a new partnership that we're establishing, and Mark will give us our little beginning of our send-off.
Hi, I'm Tim Shriver, and I'm enormously proud to be the chair of the Special Olympics movement worldwide, and I'm thrilled to be welcoming the people of the IVC to our family, formally inviting them to bring their skills, their wisdom, their passion for service, their openness to the goodness and greatness of every human being, their willingness to discover God in all things, to bring all of that to the work of our Special Olympics community. We are on the verge, I believe, of an enormously important breakthrough in the Special Olympics work. The work of beginning to recognize that we are not just a movement for people with intellectual disabilities, but also a movement from them. A movement not just about some group, some other group, but a movement about all of us. Not just a movement of sports, but a movement of radical inclusion. As we try to build a movement that is those things, a radically inclusive movement coming from the voices of the margins, we could ask for no better partner than the people of IVC. You know the Jesuit values, you know the volunteer spirit, and you've got the experience to be able to make a real difference. Welcome, IVC, to Special Olympics. I hope we can live up to your standards, and I hope that together we can do something beautiful in service, not just to each other, but to the largest and most important dimensions of our lives.
Hey IVC, I wish we were all together. I always have so much fun, get so much energy, positive energy from being around the IVC, especially Mary McGinnity, a fellow Holy Cross grad. I'm in my basement where I do some writing. And I just want to tell you, Marie Dennis, I got the prayer up here from Pax Christi. Shoot that in there, Emma, recognizing the violence in my own heart. I want to congratulate Marie and, of course, Father Pat, who I've gotten to spend some time with in the past. Keep doing the great job you're doing. And, of course, Chuck Short is my friend and role model. My mother, my father, Chuck Short, those are folks that are always doing something for other people. And I know that's what the IVC does. You're out there journeying along with people during the course of their life. I love this quote. Zoom in, Emma. From Father Keenan. Mercy is our willingness to enter into the chaos of another. And that's what the IVC does. Not only the chaos, but the joys of people's lives. Volunteering day in and day out. And of course, my last favorite quote is from my dad. And it's serve your wives, serve your husbands, serve your families, serve your neighbors, serve your cities, serve the poor. Join others who serve. Serve, serve, serve. That's the challenge, for in the end, it will be the servants who save us all. And that's what IVC is doing. It's pulling people together to serve, to make a difference in others' lives. And I'm so proud and honored to be with you this evening. Go IVC. Thanks so much.
So we're coming to the end of our time tonight with the Evening of Gratitude. My wife texted me to say that Father Conroy delivered such a powerful speech, and I definitely agree. But you didn't tell us the Andrea Mitchell story. So we're going to have to talk offline about that. I want to express gratitude to some very important people that really helped us make this event possible. Some old friends and some new. I want to mention by name Kim Agnew, who was the person behind some great graphic design for our invitation and our save the date. If you received a mailing, you saw Kim's great work, and we're very grateful for that. Joanne Sullivan and her husband Scott provided the design of the awards, including the design of the new Kathleen Curtin Spirituality and Mission Award. Tricia Lloyd not only filled our glasses here, but also provided great event planning and fundraising consultants on this project. Holy Trinity was our host here. It's a parish that means a lot to me, as well as to Chuck Short. I got married here in 2004, for example, and Father Kevin Gillespie of the Society of Jesus is the current pastor, and he's been with us tonight. And his staff member, Helene Flanagan, provided such great assistance to us over the last couple of weeks. And then Caroline Park, whom our service corps members know well from retreats and days of reflection, provided our music. You heard her on piano already, and if you stay through the closing credits, and you don't want to flip over to football yet, right? So stay for the closing credits, and you'll hear Caroline's great voice during that as well.
I'd like to add a big sense of gratitude to the small and intimate community that we have with us here in person tonight, and the much greater audience we have out there with you all. We know that many of you are watching with us, and we appreciate that. What we'd like to do is raise a glass to say thank you to IVC and thank you to all the members who support IVC, you as donors, as missioners. And I'd like to now hand this over to a very, very dear friend of mine, Father Joe Nangle, who's going to move us forward with a final blessing before we get to some pictures of how we have moved in our community over the past couple of weeks.
Thanks, Mike, and thank you all. I was very moved, Pat, by your insights and your vision. We are at the cusp of something that we're not sure about at all. I don't want to go into that because you said it so well. I do want to ask us to say the prayer ascribed to St. Francis of Assisi. You won't be surprised at that. But I don't apologize for that because we have a Pope who's a Jesuit, and his name is Francis. How about that, huh? I mean, you can't beat that. So if you know the prayer, which is very common, please say it with me. And keep in mind, if you would, our Jewish sisters and brothers, because this prayer is a universal prayer. And it's a prayer, I think, that should guide us and sustain us as we move into this, what you call new normal, which we hope will be better than the old normal by far. So, Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, let me not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And in the end, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Thank you.
Your glory to you.